If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge. And when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the podcast. Chapter 1, Starting Where You Are. Part 1, Discovering Your Why. When Mark Benioff founded Salesforce in 1999, he wasn't following a predetermined career blueprint. The former Oracle executive had reached a point where external success felt hollow, prompting him to take a sabbatical in Hawaii, where he questioned what truly mattered to him. This period of reflection led him to discover his core motivation: democratizing technology to help businesses connect with their customers in meaningful ways. His why became the foundation for building one of the world's most successful software companies. Most people stumble through their careers without ever asking the fundamental question that guided Benioff's transformation. What drives you beyond the paycheck and prestige? The answer often lies buried beneath layers of external expectations from family, society, and previous versions of ourselves. Consider the story of Cheryl Strayed, who spent years pursuing what she thought she should want before her mother's death forced a reckoning with her authentic motivations. Her subsequent hiking journey and writing career emerged from finally asking herself what mattered most, not what looked impressive on paper. Your why acts like an internal compass, especially valuable during uncertain moments. Research from the University of Michigan shows that people who can articulate their core values demonstrate greater resilience during career transitions and report higher job satisfaction long-term. The challenge lies in distinguishing between borrowed motivations and authentic ones. Take time to examine your earliest career memories. What activities made you lose track of time as a child? What problems in the world genuinely frustrate you? These clues often point toward your intrinsic motivations. Warren Buffett suggests writing down your top 25 career goals, then focusing solely on the top 5 while actively avoiding the remaining 20. This exercise forces clarity about what truly matters versus what merely seems important. Your authentic motivations might surprise you. Design thinking pioneer David Kelly discovered his passion for helping others be creative only after years in traditional engineering roles. He noticed his energy increased when teaching and mentoring, leading him to found IDEO and later Stanford's D School. The process requires honest self-examination. Ask yourself, when do you feel most energized at work? What conversations could you have for hours? What would you do if failure wasn't possible? These questions help distinguish between what you think you should want and what actually energizes you. Your why doesn't need to sound noble or impressive. Maybe you're motivated by solving complex puzzles, helping people feel heard, or creating systems that work efficiently. The key is authenticity, not grandeur. Once identified, your core motivations become powerful filters for career decisions. They help you recognize opportunities that align with your values and give you confidence to decline paths that don't, regardless of external pressure or conventional wisdom about what constitutes career success. Part 2. Mapping your skills and stories. When Amazon's Jeff Bezos left his lucrative Wall Street job in 1994, he didn't have a polished elevator pitch about his passion for e-commerce. Instead, he had a collection of experiences, skills, and stories that, when viewed together, painted a picture of someone ready to build something extraordinary. His background in computer science, his analytical skills from finance, and even his childhood summers working on his grandfather's ranch all became part of his professional narrative. Most of us dramatically underestimate the value of our accumulated experiences. We dismiss early jobs as just retail or volunteer work as not real experience. This perspective misses the profound truth that every role you've held, every challenge you've faced, and every small victory you've achieved contains transferable skills and compelling stories waiting to be discovered. Consider Sarah Blakely, who transformed her experience selling fax machines door-to-door into the foundation for Spanx. She didn't initially recognize that those rejections had taught her resilience, that understanding customer needs had honed her market research skills, or that her persistence had built unshakable confidence. These weren't separate experiences but interconnected threads in her professional story. The key lies in conducting what career design experts call a skills audit combined with narrative mapping. Start by listing every role you've held, including internships, volunteer positions, and side projects. For each role, identify 3 categories: technical skills you developed, interpersonal skills you practiced, and challenges you overcame. Then ask yourself, what patterns emerge? Where did you feel most energized? When did people seek your help naturally? Take the challenge of managing difficult customers. On the surface, this might seem like a necessary evil of service work, but examined closely, it reveals skills in emotional regulation, creative problem-solving, and conflict resolution. These abilities transfer directly to roles in project management, team leadership, or client relations. The story of how you turned an angry customer into a loyal advocate becomes evidence of your communication prowess and grace under pressure. Your growth moments often hide in places you least expect. Maya Angelou once worked as a streetcar conductor in San Francisco, becoming the first Black woman in that role. Years later, she reflected that this experience taught her about breaking barriers and claiming space in uncomfortable situations, lessons that informed her writing and activism throughout her life. The practice of storytelling your experiences serves 2 purposes. First, it helps you recognize patterns in your interests and strengths. Second, it creates a repository of concrete examples you can draw from in interviews, networking conversations, and career transitions. Instead of saying, "I'm good with people," you can share the story of how you mediated a team conflict or built rapport with a challenging stakeholder. This inventory process reveals something remarkable. You already possess more career-relevant skills and experiences than you realize. The question isn't whether you have valuable stories to tell, but whether you're taking the time to recognize and articulate them effectively. Part 3. Recognizing your superpowers. When Sarah Blakely cut the feet off her pantyhose to create a smoother silhouette under white pants, she had no idea this moment of frustration would become the foundation of Spanx, a billion-dollar empire. She wasn't a fashion expert or business school graduate. She was selling fax machines door to door, armed with nothing more than a keen eye for solving problems and relentless determination. Your superpowers often hide in plain sight, disguised as things you do naturally or complaints you hear repeatedly from others. Unlike the dramatic abilities we see in movies, real superpowers emerge from the intersection of your natural talents and the skills you've developed through experience. They're the things that come so easily to you that you assume everyone can do them. Consider Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator who discovered his superpower wasn't just talking people down from dangerous situations. His ability to listen with genuine curiosity and reflect emotions back to others became the foundation for transforming business negotiations. What started as a life-saving skill in hostage situations became a career-defining strength in the corporate world. The key lies in recognizing when others consistently seek your help for specific challenges. Maya notices that colleagues always ask her to review their presentations before important meetings. David finds himself mediating conflicts between team members without being asked. These patterns reveal superpowers in action, yet both Maya and David might dismiss these abilities as just being helpful. Your superpowers often emerge from your natural responses to frustration or inefficiency. Amy Cuddy's research on power posing began with her own struggle to feel confident after a traumatic brain injury. Her personal challenge became her professional breakthrough when she discovered how body language affects our internal sense of power. To identify your superpowers, start by asking trusted colleagues what they would miss most if you left your team tomorrow. Their answers often point to abilities you've stopped noticing. Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis suggest tracking moments when time seems to fly by during work tasks. These flow states typically occur when you're operating in your zone of natural talent. The magic happens when you combine these natural strengths with deliberately developed skills. Cal Newport's research shows that rare and valuable abilities emerge from this combination, creating what he calls career capital. Sarah Blakely's problem-solving instincts became powerful when combined with her willingness to cold call manufacturers and patent attorneys. Your superpowers don't need to be revolutionary. Sometimes they're as simple as making complex information accessible, remembering important details about people, or maintaining calm during chaos. Bill Burnett and Dave Evans emphasize that extraordinary careers often build on ordinary strengths applied in focused, deliberate ways. The goal isn't to discover you have hidden genius-level abilities. It's to recognize the unique combination of traits, experiences, and skills that already make you valuable. Once you can name and claim these superpowers, you can start building career paths that amplify them rather than working against your natural grain. Part 4. Letting go of the perfect path. When Reid Hoffman co-founded LinkedIn, he didn't follow his original plan to become a philosophy professor. Instead, he took what seemed like a risky detour into tech entrepreneurship. That wrong turn created one of the most valuable professional networks in history, connecting millions of careers worldwide. The myth of the perfect career path haunts countless professionals. We imagine successful people followed straight lines from college to corner office, making calculated moves like chess masters. Reality tells a different story. Research from Harvard Business School shows that 73% of executives took unexpected career turns that proved pivotal to their success. Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis coined the term squiggly career to describe how modern work actually unfolds. Unlike traditional ladder climbing, squiggly careers zigzag through industries, roles, and opportunities. Consider Katrina Lake, who studied economics, worked at Bain Consulting, then founded Stitch Fix after struggling to find clothes that fit her busy lifestyle. Each seemingly unrelated experience contributed to her eventual breakthrough. The fear of making wrong choices paralyzes many talented people. Cal Newport's research reveals this stems from what he calls the passion trap, believing there's one perfect job waiting to be discovered. Instead, Newport found that people who build remarkable careers focus on developing rare and valuable skills, then apply them wherever opportunities arise. The path becomes clear through action, not planning. Amy Cuddy's studies on presence demonstrate how setbacks actually build resilience. When she suffered a traumatic brain injury in college, professors suggested she'd never return to her intellectual capabilities. Rather than accepting limitation, she reframed the challenge as research material. Her TED Talk on power posing became one of the most watched presentations ever, directly emerging from her personal struggle. What feels like career failure often provides the most valuable education. James Dyson created 5,126 failed prototypes before perfecting his revolutionary vacuum cleaner. Each failure taught him something essential about airflow, materials, or design. He didn't waste 15 years. He invested them in building expertise no competitor could match. The most successful people Bill Burnett and Dave Evans studied approached careers like designers approach problems. They prototype rapidly, test ideas cheaply, and iterate based on feedback. This means treating job changes, skill development, and even industry shifts as experiments rather than permanent commitments. Stephen Covey emphasized beginning with the end in mind. But that doesn't mean rigidly planning every step. It means understanding your values and principles, then staying flexible about how to honor them. Your core remains steady while your path adapts to opportunities and obstacles. Modern careers require comfort with uncertainty. The World Economic Forum predicts that 65% of children entering primary school today will work in jobs that don't yet exist. This reality makes adaptability more valuable than any specific career plan. Your willingness to learn, pivot, and grow becomes your greatest professional asset. Chapter 2. Designing the Adventure. Part 1. Prototyping Possibilities. When Reid Hoffman was building LinkedIn, he famously said, "Starting a company is like jumping off a cliff and assembling a plane on the way down." The same principle applies to career development, but with one crucial difference. Unlike entrepreneurs who must commit fully to their ventures, career builders can test their assumptions safely through small experiments before making the leap. The tech industry has mastered this approach through what they call minimum viable products, stripped-down versions that test core assumptions with minimal investment. Amazon's Jeff Bezos started by selling books from his garage before expanding to everything else. Similarly, you can create minimum viable career moves that test new directions without risking your current stability. Sarah Blakely exemplified this when she kept her day job selling fax machines while developing Spanx prototypes at night. She spent 2 years researching, testing, and refining her concept before quitting her steady paycheck. This approach gave her crucial market feedback and confidence while maintaining financial security. Design thinking methodology offers a perfect framework for career experimentation. Start with empathy, deeply understanding what energizes you and what problems you want to solve. Then define the challenge clearly. Are you seeking more creativity, better work-life balance, or higher compensation? Next comes ideation, where you generate multiple potential paths rather than fixating on one. The prototyping phase is where magic happens. Instead of debating whether you'd enjoy marketing, spend 2 hours volunteering for a local nonprofit social media campaign. Rather than wondering about consulting, offer to help a friend's small business with a specific challenge. These micro-commitments provide authentic insights that no career test can match. Maya Chen, a software engineer, discovered her passion for user experience design through a weekend hackathon. That 48-hour experiment led to evening UX courses, then freelance projects, and eventually a full career transition. The hackathon cost her one weekend but saved her from potentially years of uncertainty. Modern platforms make career prototyping remarkably accessible. Catch a Fire connects professionals with short-term nonprofit projects. Upwork enables skill testing through small freelance gigs. Industry meetups provide low-pressure networking opportunities. Even LinkedIn's volunteer marketplace offers ways to sample new roles. The key is treating these experiments like genuine learning opportunities, not casual dabbling. Create specific hypotheses to test. Will I enjoy client-facing work? Can I handle project management responsibilities? Do I thrive in fast-paced startup environments? Document your responses honestly, noting both energizing and draining aspects. Failed experiments provide invaluable data. Marketing executive turned chef David Chang initially tried investment banking through a summer internship. He discovered he hated the work, but loved the analytical thinking, insights that later shaped his systematic approach to restaurant operations. That failed experiment prevented a costly career mistake while revealing transferable strengths. Career experiments work best when you approach them with genuine curiosity, rather than predetermined outcomes. Sometimes the most valuable discovery is realizing what you definitely don't want to pursue. Part 2. Testing out new paths. When Airbnb's Brian Chesky decided to test his hospitality concept, he didn't quit his day job or secure massive funding. Instead, he bought air mattresses, set up a simple website, and hosted 3 strangers during a design conference weekend. This small experiment generated $80 in revenue and invaluable insights about what travelers actually wanted. That weekend of discomfort and uncertainty became the foundation for a company worth billions. Testing new career paths requires this same experimental mindset. The most successful career changers don't leap blindly. They sample strategically. They treat potential opportunities like hypotheses worth testing rather than permanent commitments requiring perfect certainty. Consider the power of informational interviews. Former Goldman Sachs analyst turned veterinarian Jessica Vogelsang scheduled coffee meetings with working veterinarians before applying to vet school. These conversations revealed the profession's emotional toll, financial realities, and daily challenges that online research couldn't capture. One veterinarian's honest account of euthanizing animals daily helped Jessica understand she could handle this aspect, while another's description of client relationships confirmed her desire for more meaningful work connections. Job shadowing provides even richer data. When marketing manager turned nurse practitioner Rachel Thompson shadowed emergency room staff for 3 12-hour shifts, she discovered her romanticized view of healthcare didn't match reality. The constant interruptions, life or death pressure, and physical demands exhausted her. However, observing the nurse practitioner's patient interactions energized her completely. This distinction between general healthcare work and her specific role interest proved crucial for her successful transition. Digital platforms now enable micro-experiences that were impossible before. Freelancing websites allow professionals to test consulting skills on small projects. Online courses provide industry-specific knowledge without degree commitments. Volunteer opportunities offer hands-on experience in new sectors. Former investment banker turned teacher Marcus Johnson volunteered tutoring high school students for 6 months before pursuing education credentials. This experience revealed his passion for curriculum design over classroom management, leading him toward instructional design roles instead of traditional teaching. The key lies in treating every test as valuable data collection. When software engineer Sarah Chen tried product management through internal company rotation, she initially felt overwhelmed by the ambiguity and constant stakeholder communication. Rather than viewing this as failure, she recognized these challenges as important information about her work preferences. This failed experiment prevented her from pursuing external product management roles while confirming her love for technical problem-solving. Smart career testers also seek feedback actively. They ask supervisors, colleagues, and clients for honest assessments of their performance and fit. This external perspective often reveals blind spots and hidden strengths. Sometimes others notice talents we take for granted or struggles we haven't acknowledged. Remember that stepping outside comfort zones generates valuable self-knowledge regardless of outcomes. Each test provides clarity about preferences, strengths, and deal breakers that theoretical planning cannot deliver. Part 3. Embracing the Squiggly Journey. When Vera Wang launched her bridal empire at age 40 after being passed over for promotion at Vogue, few predicted she would revolutionize wedding fashion. Her winding path through figure skating, fashion journalism, and retail seemed disconnected, until suddenly it wasn't. Wang's story perfectly illustrates a truth that linear thinkers struggle to accept. The most rewarding careers often follow patterns that make sense only in retrospect. Modern careers resemble city street maps more than highway routes. They twist through unexpected neighborhoods, double back on themselves, and occasionally lead down what appear to be dead ends. Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn's founder, spent years consulting at Apple and Fujitsu before launching his first company, which failed. These apparent detours provided crucial insights about technology and networking that later shaped LinkedIn's success. Without those wrong turns, his breakthrough might never have materialized. The challenge lies in our fundamental misunderstanding of how careers actually develop. We imagine them as ladders, steady climbs with predictable rungs. Reality looks more like rock climbing, where the best route often requires moving sideways or even temporarily downward to reach the summit. Research from Harvard Business School shows that professionals who change industries or functions early in their careers earn higher salaries and report greater job satisfaction than those who follow traditional paths. Consider Oprah Winfrey's journey from local news anchor to media mogul. Her early career included stints in radio, failed attempts at traditional journalism, and a controversial talk show format that networks initially rejected. Each apparent setback taught her something essential about storytelling, audience connection, and authentic communication. The skills she developed in these detours became the foundation for building a media empire worth billions. The anxiety we feel about non-linear careers often stems from external pressure to have a clear narrative. We convince ourselves that employers want candidates with straight-line progressions, but evidence suggests otherwise. Companies increasingly value what researchers call hybrid vigor, the creative problem-solving that emerges when diverse experiences combine. Sarah Blakely's background in sales and her frustration with pantyhose led to Spanx, a billion-dollar company that wouldn't exist without her seemingly unrelated experiences. What if we reframed career uncertainty as information gathering rather than aimless wandering? Each role, project, or industry provides data about our preferences, strengths, and values. The marketing manager who discovers she loves data analysis during a spreadsheet-heavy quarter gains insight that might lead to a fulfilling analytics career. The software engineer who enjoys mentoring interns might find his calling in technical leadership or education. The key is learning to read these signals while they're happening, rather than only recognizing their significance years later. This requires what psychologists call tolerance for ambiguity, the ability to remain comfortable when outcomes are uncertain. Steve Jobs famously said, "You can only connect the dots looking backward, but you can develop better dot detection skills by paying attention to what energizes you during seemingly random experiences." Perhaps the most liberating realization is that career success doesn't require a master plan. It requires adaptation, curiosity, and the courage to follow interesting opportunities even when they don't fit traditional models. Your squiggly path isn't a bug in your career system. It's the feature that makes you uniquely valuable. Part 4. Saying yes to serendipity. When Reed Hastings attended a Stanford computer science conference in 1997, he struck up a casual conversation during a coffee break with a fellow attendee about DVD technology. That chance encounter led to a partnership that would transform Netflix from a DVD by mail service into the streaming giant we know today. This wasn't planned networking or strategic positioning. It was simply two curious people sharing ideas over coffee. Such moments of serendipity shape careers more than most people realize. Research from the University of Michigan found that 70% of successful career transitions began with unplanned conversations or chance encounters. Yet many professionals inadvertently block these opportunities by maintaining rigid routines and staying within familiar circles. Creating conditions for serendipity requires intentional visibility and genuine curiosity. When Tina Roth Eisenberg started sharing her design frustrations on a small blog called Swiss Miss, she never imagined it would lead to multiple business ventures and speaking opportunities worldwide. She simply made her thinking visible and engaged authentically with others facing similar challenges. The key lies in expanding your surface area for chance encounters. Join communities adjacent to your field, attend events outside your immediate expertise, and share your journey openly through writing, speaking, or teaching. When journalist-turned-entrepreneur Ariana Huffington began speaking at technology conferences despite having no formal tech background, those cross-industry connections ultimately led to the creation of Thrive Global. Being approachable matters as much as being visible. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset reveals that people who ask curious questions and express genuine interest in others' work create more meaningful connections than those who simply broadcast their own achievements. Practice what she calls interested availability, being present and genuinely curious when opportunities for connection arise. Timing plays a crucial role in recognizing serendipitous moments. Many people miss opportunities because they're too focused on predetermined outcomes. When Mark Benioff encountered a struggling entrepreneur at a conference dinner in 1999, he didn't dismiss the conversation because it wasn't on his agenda. That entrepreneur's insights about customer relationship management software sparked ideas that led to Salesforce becoming a multi-billion-dollar company. The most serendipitous people develop what researchers call opportunity recognition skills. They notice patterns others miss, connect seemingly unrelated ideas, and remain alert to possibilities that don't fit their current plans. This requires cultivating what psychologists term relaxed attention, staying focused on your goals while remaining open to unexpected paths that might lead somewhere even better. Practice saying yes to invitations that intrigue you, even when you can't immediately see their relevance. Share your work and challenges openly, creating opportunities for others to offer unexpected solutions or connections. Remember that serendipity favors the prepared mind that stays curious about the world beyond its immediate concerns. Chapter 3. Building your toolkit. Part 1. Working deep, not just hard. When Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella took over in 2014, he didn't demand longer hours from his team. Instead, he instituted focus time, 2-hour blocks where employees could work without meetings or interruptions. Within 3 years, Microsoft's market value doubled, proving that intensity matters more than duration. The myth that career success demands endless hours has cost countless professionals their health, relationships, and ironically, their best work. Research from Stanford economist John Pencavel reveals that productivity per hour declines sharply after 50 hours per week and plummets after 55 hours. Yet the solution isn't working less, it's working with laser focus. Cal Newport's studies of high performers across industries reveal a consistent pattern. Nobel Prize winners, best-selling authors, and breakthrough entrepreneurs don't just put in time, they create sacred spaces for what he calls deep work. This means sustained periods of cognitively demanding activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration. Consider author Zadie Smith, who writes her novels in a bare room with no internet connection. Or Bill Gates, who famously takes Think Weeks twice yearly, retreating to a cabin with nothing but books and a notepad. These aren't luxuries, they're strategic investments in their most valuable output. The practical application starts with auditing your current work patterns. Track what you accomplish during different types of time blocks. Most professionals discover their scattered attention produces surprisingly little meaningful progress. Deep work requires intentional design, not accidental moments between meetings. Start small with 90-minute focus sessions. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary browser tabs, and tackle your most important cognitive work when your energy peaks. Research shows our brains can maintain peak concentration for roughly 90 minutes before needing a break. Honor this natural rhythm rather than fighting it. Tags and email alerts become the enemy of deep work. Create physical and digital barriers. Some executives use do not disturb signs. Others block distracting websites during focus hours. The key is making deep work the default, not something you squeeze into leftover time. The compound effect of regular deep work sessions transforms career trajectories. While colleagues remain busy but unproductive, you develop rare and valuable skills. You solve complex problems others can't. You create work that stands out in a sea of shallow effort. Building this practice requires patience. Your brain has been trained for constant stimulation. Sitting with difficult problems without reaching for your phone feels uncomfortable initially. This discomfort signals you're building mental muscle that few possess in our distracted world. The most successful professionals treat deep work like fitness training, consistent, progressive, and non-negotiable. They understand that in knowledge work, quality trumps quantity every time. Part 2. Creating connections that count. Most people think networking means collecting business cards at industry events. They're wrong. Real career advancement happens when you build relationships so genuine that people actively want to help you succeed. The difference between superficial networking and meaningful connection building can determine whether your career stagnates or soars. Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn's founder, built his career by consistently offering value before asking for anything in return. While at PayPal, he regularly introduced potential partners to each other, sharing insights from his network without expecting immediate returns. This approach created a web of advocates who later supported his ventures. His strategy wasn't complicated. He simply focused on how he could help others first. Consider this approach your next time you meet someone professionally. Instead of immediately explaining your needs, ask about their current challenges. Listen carefully to their responses. Can you share an article that addresses their concerns? Do you know someone who solved a similar problem? This shift from "what can you do for me" to "how can I help you" transforms every interaction. Maya, a software engineer at Microsoft, used this principle to transition into product management. Rather than asking senior product managers for job referrals, she volunteered to help with user research projects during her free time. She shared technical insights that helped product teams make better decisions. Within 6 months, 3 different managers approached her about open positions. Her genuine contributions had made her indispensable to their work. Building meaningful connections requires consistency over time. Set aside 15 minutes weekly to check in with your professional contacts. Share interesting articles, congratulate them on achievements, or simply ask how their projects are progressing. These small touches compound dramatically over months and years. The most effective relationship builders create value through knowledge sharing. When you learn something new at a conference or read a compelling book, think about which colleagues would benefit from this information. Send a brief message explaining why you thought of them specifically. This personal touch transforms generic information sharing into relationship building. Authentic storytelling accelerates connection formation. Instead of reciting your resume when someone asks about your background, share the story behind your career decisions. Explain what you learned from failures, what excites you about your current work, and what you hope to achieve next. These personal narratives help others understand who you are beyond your job title. Remember, meaningful professional relationships require mutual investment. The strongest career advocates are those who know you well enough to speak authentically about your capabilities and character. This depth of relationship doesn't happen overnight, but consistently applying these principles creates a network that becomes increasingly valuable throughout your career journey. Part 3. Crafting your unique presence. When IBM executive Virginia Rometty first spoke publicly, she stumbled through presentations and avoided eye contact. Yet she transformed herself into one of the most recognizable voices in technology by treating her presence like any other professional skill that required deliberate practice. Her journey illustrates a fundamental truth most people miss. Presence isn't something you're born with or without. Your reputation begins forming the moment someone encounters your name online, meets you in person, or hears about your work through others. Most professionals leave this process entirely to chance, assuming their good work will speak for itself. Research from Stanford's Graduate School of Business shows that actual performance accounts for only 10% of career advancement, while perception and visibility drive the remaining 90%. This reality might feel unfair, but it represents an opportunity for those willing to take control of their professional narrative. Building authentic presence starts with understanding what you want to be known for. Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This principle applies directly to professional relationships. When Oprah Winfrey interviews CEOs, she doesn't just ask about quarterly earnings. She explores what drives them personally, creating memorable moments that reveal character alongside competence. Your online presence requires the same intentionality. LinkedIn profiles that simply list job responsibilities fail to capture attention, while those that tell stories about challenges overcome and lessons learned create lasting impressions. When Melinda Gates left Microsoft to focus on philanthropy, she could have simply updated her title. Instead, she shared her evolving perspective on using technology to solve global problems, positioning herself as a thought leader in an entirely new field. Physical presence matters equally. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard Business School demonstrated that changing your posture for just 2 minutes before important meetings increases confidence hormones by 19% and decreases stress hormones by 25%. This isn't about fake-it-till-you-make-it theatrics. Small adjustments in how you carry yourself genuinely change how others perceive your competence and how you feel about your own capabilities. Storytelling serves as your most powerful tool for presence building. When someone asks about your background, resist the urge to recite your resume chronologically. Instead, identify the thread that connects your experiences. Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn's founder, doesn't just mention his time at PayPal and Greylock Partners. He tells the story of his fascination with how networks create value, showing how each role built toward his current mission of connecting professionals globally. Consistency across all touchpoints amplifies your presence exponentially. Your email signature, meeting contributions, social media posts, and casual conversations should all reinforce the same core message about who you are and what you bring to your work. This doesn't mean being robotic or inauthentic. Rather, it means being intentionally consistent about highlighting the qualities and expertise you want others to remember. The most effective presence builders understand that visibility without substance creates short-term recognition, but long-term credibility problems. Focus first on developing genuine expertise and value, then amplify that foundation through strategic presence building. This approach creates sustainable influence that grows stronger over time rather than burning bright and fading quickly. Part 4. Learning to negotiate for yourself. When FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss found himself across from a kidnapper demanding millions, he didn't raise his voice or issue ultimatums. Instead, he listened, asked questions, and created space for the other person to feel heard. This approach saved lives and taught him that negotiation isn't about winning or losing. It's about finding solutions that work for everyone. Most people avoid negotiations because they imagine heated confrontations and damaged relationships. Yet research from Harvard Business School shows that people who negotiate their starting salaries earn over $1 million more during their careers compared to those who accept initial offers. The gap isn't about aggression or manipulation. It's about treating negotiation as a collaborative problem-solving process. Consider the story of Maya Chen, a software engineer who spent 3 years accepting whatever projects and deadlines her manager assigned. When a competing company offered her a position with 30% higher pay, she initially planned to simply quit. Instead, she decided to practice negotiation skills first. She scheduled a meeting with her current boss, armed not with demands, but with data about her contributions and market rates for her skills. The conversation started with Maya acknowledging her manager's perspective. "I know budget planning is challenging, and you've invested time training me." Then she presented her research, comparable salaries, specific projects she'd led, and measurable results she'd delivered. Rather than demanding a raise, she asked, "What would need to happen for us to adjust my compensation to reflect my current contributions?" The results surprised both of them. Her manager revealed that promotion budgets existed, but required documentation she'd never provided. Within 2 months, Maya received not just a salary increase, but a promotion to senior engineer. The competing offer became leverage, not an escape route. Effective negotiation begins long before the actual conversation. Chris Voss teaches that preparation means understanding both parties' real interests, not just stated positions. When someone says they need a project completed by Friday, their position is clear, but their interest might be presenting results to a client or avoiding weekend work. Understanding interests opens creative solutions. Amazon's Jeff Bezos famously negotiated his way out of a restrictive employment contract by proposing a consulting arrangement that satisfied his former employer's non-compete concerns while allowing him to start his new venture. He reframed the situation from conflict to collaboration. The most powerful negotiation tool costs nothing: asking questions. Instead of arguing why you deserve something, explore what the other person needs. "Help me understand your timeline concerns," or "what would make this work for your budget," transforms adversarial dynamics into joint problem-solving sessions. Practice starts with low-stakes situations. Negotiate delivery times with vendors, ask for better seating at restaurants, or discuss project deadlines with colleagues. Each interaction builds confidence and reveals that most people want to find mutually beneficial solutions. Remember that walking away is always an option. This isn't about being combative. It's about maintaining your own standards while respecting others' constraints. Sometimes the best negotiation outcome is realizing when situations don't align with your values or goals. Chapter 4: Becoming Invaluable. Part 1: Turning Skills into Stories. When Mark Benioff pitched Salesforce to venture capitalists in 1999, he didn't lead with technical specifications or market projections. Instead, he told them a story about a frustrated small business owner who spent more time managing customer data than serving customers. That narrative helped raise $6 million and eventually built a company worth over $250 billion. Your skills deserve equally compelling stories. Most professionals treat their achievements like grocery lists. They recite duties and responsibilities without connecting them to human impact. But employers don't hire skills in isolation. They hire people who can solve problems and create value. The difference between getting overlooked and getting promoted often comes down to how effectively you translate your capabilities into meaningful narratives. Consider how Jennifer, a marketing coordinator, transformed her story. Initially, she would say, "I managed social media accounts and increased followers." After reframing, she explained, "When our customer service team was overwhelmed with product questions, I created an Instagram FAQ series that reduced support tickets by 30% while building community engagement." Same skills, different story. The second version shows problem-solving, initiative, and business impact. The most powerful career stories follow a simple structure: challenge, action, result. But the secret lies in choosing the right details. Maya Angelou once said, "People forget what you said and did, but never forget how you made them feel." Your stories should help listeners visualize themselves benefiting from your contributions. Netflix CEO Reed Hastings didn't become legendary by discussing his programming background. He became memorable by describing how he reimagined entertainment consumption after receiving a $40 late fee for Apollo 13. His technical skills enabled the solution, but the relatable frustration made the story stick. When crafting your narratives, start with the human element. What problem kept someone awake at night? How did your intervention change their daily experience? Numbers matter, but emotions create connection. A project manager might say, "I reduced project timelines by 25%, but the compelling version explains, "Our development team was burning out from impossible deadlines. I introduced sprint planning that delivered features 25% faster while letting developers leave the office by 6 p.m. Practice telling these stories in different lengths. You need 30-second elevator versions, 2-minute interview responses, and 5-minute networking presentations. Each should maintain the core message while adjusting detail levels for context. The best storytellers also prepare for follow-up questions. When someone asks how you handled a difficult situation, they're really asking whether you can handle their difficult situations. Your story becomes a preview of your future performance. Remember that authenticity beats perfection. Share stories where you learned from mistakes or grew through challenges. Vulnerability, when paired with growth, demonstrates resilience and self-awareness, qualities every organization values. Your skills are your ingredients, but stories are the recipe that makes them appetizing. Start collecting these narratives now, because tomorrow's opportunities depend on today's preparation. Part 2. Leading with Authenticity. When Brené Brown first stepped onto the TED stage in 2010, she broke every rule about professional speaking. Instead of polished perfection, she shared her personal breakdown, her struggle with vulnerability research, and her own messy journey toward courage. That talk became one of the most watched TED presentations in history. Brown's authenticity didn't diminish her authority, it amplified it. This principle challenges everything we've been taught about professional leadership. Traditional models insisted leaders must project unwavering confidence, suppress emotions, and maintain distance from their teams. Yet today's most effective leaders operate from a completely different playbook. They lead with their authentic selves. Consider Satya Nadella's transformation of Microsoft. When he became CEO in 2014, he didn't try to emulate his predecessors' commanding styles. Instead, he brought his natural curiosity and growth mindset to the role. He openly discussed his son's disabilities, shared his own learning failures, and consistently asked employees what they thought, rather than telling them what to do. Under his authentic leadership, Microsoft's market value tripled. Authentic leadership doesn't mean oversharing or lacking boundaries. It means aligning your actions with your core values, especially when pressure mounts. When Patagonia's Yvon Chouinard donated his entire company to fight climate change, he wasn't making a calculated PR move. He was acting from his deepest convictions about environmental responsibility. This authenticity has created fierce customer loyalty and employee dedication. The most powerful aspect of authentic leadership is its accessibility. You don't need a corner office or formal title to practice it. When a software developer at a small startup consistently advocates for better user accessibility features because of their own visual impairment, they're leading authentically. When a retail manager shares credit for successes and takes responsibility for failures because fairness matters to them, they're demonstrating authentic leadership. Staying genuine under pressure requires what Stephen Covey called principle-centered decision-making. Identify your non-negotiable values, perhaps integrity, growth, or service to others. When facing difficult choices, ask yourself which option best aligns with these principles. This approach creates consistency that others can rely on and respect. Transparent communication forms the backbone of authentic leadership. This means admitting when you don't know something, explaining your reasoning behind decisions, and acknowledging mistakes quickly. Research from Harvard Business School shows that leaders who demonstrate vulnerability are perceived as more trustworthy and approachable, leading to higher team performance. Your authentic leadership style emerges from honest self-assessment. What energizes you? What values drive your decisions? How do you naturally connect with others? These answers become your leadership compass, guiding you toward influence that feels sustainable and genuine. The beautiful paradox of authentic leadership is that by being yourself, you give others permission to do the same. This creates psychological safety where innovation flourishes and people bring their best thinking to work. Your authenticity becomes contagious, transforming not just your own effectiveness, but the entire environment around you. Part 3. Growing your influence at every step. When Reid Hoffman co-founded LinkedIn, he discovered something profound about influence that most people miss. It wasn't his prestigious background or impressive title that opened doors. It was his relentless commitment to helping others succeed first. This approach, which psychologists call otherish behavior, creates influence that feels natural and sustainable because it operates on reciprocity rather than hierarchy. Influence begins the moment you walk into a room, regardless of your position on the organizational chart. Consider how Tara Brach, a relatively junior product manager at a tech startup, transformed her reputation by consistently asking one question in meetings: what would make this easier for our customers? This simple habit shifted conversations from internal politics to customer value, and within 6 months, senior executives began seeking her input on major decisions. The research from Harvard Business School shows that people who demonstrate what they call pro-social leadership, actively working to benefit others, gain influence 40% faster than those focused primarily on personal advancement. This isn't about being a pushover. It's about strategic generosity that creates genuine value. Trust forms the foundation of all influence, and it builds through small, consistent actions rather than grand gestures. When Sheryl Sandberg was still at Google, she gained legendary influence not through self-promotion, but by religiously following up on commitments, sharing credit generously, and admitting mistakes quickly. These behaviors signal reliability, which transforms you from someone people tolerate to someone they depend on. Proactive behavior amplifies your influence exponentially. Instead of waiting for assignments, identify problems before they escalate. Susan Wojcicki's rise to CEO of YouTube began when she volunteered to tackle Google's struggling video strategy, a project nobody else wanted. She saw an opportunity to serve the organization's needs while building her expertise. The most powerful influencers master what psychologists call perspective taking, genuinely understanding others' challenges and priorities. Before proposing solutions, they invest time learning what keeps their colleagues awake at night. This approach transforms you from someone pushing your agenda to someone solving real problems. Service-oriented thinking creates a paradox. The more you focus on others' success, the more your own influence grows. Adam Grant's research at Wharton demonstrates that the highest performers in many fields are those who give the most, but they give strategically, ensuring their contributions create measurable value. Your influence grows when you become someone others can count on for honest feedback, creative solutions, and unwavering support during challenging times. This reputation travels faster than any self-promotional effort, creating opportunities you never could have manufactured through traditional networking. Influence isn't about commanding attention. It's about earning the right to be heard through consistent value creation. When people know you'll make their lives easier, their projects better, and their challenges more manageable, your voice naturally carries more weight in every conversation that matters. Part 4. Bouncing back and moving forward. When Starbucks' Howard Schultz faced bankruptcy proceedings in the 1980s, he didn't frame the experience as failure. Instead, he viewed it as expensive education about cash flow, investor relations, and operational efficiency. This perspective transformed what could have been a career-ending setback into the foundation for building one of the world's most recognizable brands. The difference between those who recover from setbacks and those who don't often comes down to how they interpret and respond to adversity. Resilience isn't about being unaffected by challenges. It's about developing systems that help you process, learn from, and move beyond difficult experiences. Research from Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck shows that people with growth mindsets recover faster from setbacks because they view failures as information rather than identity markers. They ask, "What can I learn?" instead of, "Why did this happen to me?" The most effective recovery strategy involves what designers call rapid prototyping applied to your career. When Sarah Blakely's first business venture failed spectacularly, she immediately began experimenting with new approaches. Instead of dwelling on the loss, she treated each failure as a prototype that brought her closer to a viable solution. This mindset eventually led to Spanx, turning her into a billionaire entrepreneur. Building resilience requires creating what psychologists call stress inoculation. Just as vaccines expose you to small amounts of a virus to build immunity, deliberately taking on manageable challenges helps you develop emotional and professional antibodies. When Netflix CEO Reed Hastings made the controversial decision to separate DVD and streaming services in 2011, facing massive customer backlash, he had already built this resilience through years of smaller calculated risks. The most successful people understand that recovery is a team sport. After tennis champion Serena Williams suffered life-threatening complications during childbirth, her comeback wasn't a solo effort. She assembled a support network of coaches, medical professionals, family members, and fellow athletes who each played specific roles in her return to competition. This demonstrates that asking for help isn't weakness, it's strategic resource allocation. Creating sustainable momentum means developing what Cal Newport calls deep recovery practices. Just as athletes need recovery periods between intense training sessions, professionals need structured downtime to process experiences and maintain peak performance. This might involve regular reflection sessions, mentorship conversations, or even sabbaticals for perspective. The key to long-term resilience lies in building what researchers term psychological capital. This includes optimism about future success, confidence in your abilities, hope that comes from having multiple pathways to goals, and resilience that helps you bounce back from adversity. Companies like Johnson & Johnson have integrated these concepts into their leadership development programs, recognizing that resilient leaders create more adaptable organizations. Remember that setbacks often redirect you toward opportunities you couldn't have seen from your original position. Sometimes the most valuable career moves happen not despite challenges, but because of them. Chapter 5, Writing Your Next Chapter. Part 1, Reflecting and Recharging. When was the last time you truly paused to examine where your career has taken you? Research from Harvard Business School shows that executives who regularly engage in structured reflection outperform their peers by 23% in performance evaluations. Yet fewer than 30% of professionals make time for meaningful self-assessment. Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn's founder, built his entire career philosophy around what he calls intelligent reflection. Every quarter, he blocks out 3 days to review decisions, analyze outcomes, and recalibrate his approach. This practice helped him navigate from PayPal to LinkedIn to venture capital, each transition informed by honest assessment of what worked and what didn't. Professional athletes understand this instinctively. Michael Jordan famously studied game film obsessively, not just of victories, but especially of defeats. He knew that growth lived in the gap between intention and execution. Your career deserves the same analytical attention that Jordan gave to basketball. The most effective reflection follows a pattern successful professionals have refined over decades. Start with gratitude inventory. What opportunities emerged that you hadn't anticipated? Sheryl Sandberg credits her move from Google to Facebook partly to recognizing that her Treasury Department experience, initially seen as a detour, actually provided unique financial expertise that tech companies desperately needed. Next, examine your energy patterns. When did you feel most alive professionally? Cal Newport's research reveals that people who identify their peak engagement moments make career decisions with 40% greater satisfaction rates. Maybe you discovered that teaching interns energized you more than solo projects. Perhaps client presentations drained you while strategy sessions sparked creativity. The hardest part involves confronting what didn't work. Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, Stanford's design thinking experts, encourage treating failures as prototypes rather than verdicts. When their students analyze failed career experiments, they discover valuable data about preferences, strengths, and environmental factors that influence performance. Consider keeping what they call a good time journal. For 2 weeks, track activities that engage you versus those that deplete your energy. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard shows that professionals who understand their energy rhythms make career choices aligned with their natural patterns, leading to sustained high performance. Regular reflection prevents career drift. Stephen Covey's studies found that people who conduct quarterly personal reviews are 3 times more likely to achieve their professional goals. They catch misalignment early and course correct before small problems become major obstacles. The key lies in honest assessment without harsh self-judgment. Maya Grossman, career strategist for Fortune 500 executives, advocates for approaching reflection like a scientist studying data rather than a judge delivering verdicts. What patterns emerge? Which skills developed fastest? Where did unexpected opportunities appear? This process isn't about perfection, but about unplanned career path contains wisdom that intentional analysis can transform into your competitive advantage. Part 2. Setting bold, tiny goals. When Sarah Blakely cut the feet off her pantyhose in 1998, she had no idea this simple act would launch Spanx into a billion-dollar empire. Her secret wasn't a grand master plan. It was committing to one small action each day for 2 years. She made 5 cold calls daily to department stores, researched 1 patent filing, or refined 1 product detail. These tiny steps felt manageable, yet required genuine courage each time she picked up the phone. The science behind microgoals reveals why Blakely's approach works so effectively. Stanford's B.J. Fogg studied behavior change for over 20 years and discovered that sustainable transformation happens through what he calls tiny habits. His research shows that small actions repeated consistently create neural pathways that make bigger changes inevitable. The key lies in pairing bold intentions with achievable daily actions. Consider how James Clear transformed his writing career through a deceptively simple commitment: publish 1 article every Monday and Thursday. This micro goal felt almost embarrassingly small compared to his dream of becoming a best-selling author. Yet within 3 years, this consistent practice attracted 100,000 email subscribers and led to his book Atomic Habits, selling millions of copies worldwide. The boldness wasn't in the size of each action, but in the unwavering commitment to consistency. The most effective microgoals contain what researchers call implementation intentions. Instead of vague aspirations like network more, successful career changers specify exact actions. Send 1 LinkedIn message to someone in my target industry every morning before checking email. This precision eliminates decision fatigue and creates automatic progress. Maya Grossman coaches Fortune 500 executives using this principle. She asks clients to identify 1 skill-building activity they can complete in 15 minutes daily. One client practiced storytelling by recording herself explaining 1 work project each morning. Within 6 months, her presentations transformed from forgettable recitations into compelling narratives that earned her a promotion to director level. The celebration component proves equally crucial. Cal Newport's research on knowledge work productivity shows that acknowledging small wins releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior loop. When you complete your daily micro goal, mark it visibly. Use a calendar, app, or simple checkmark system that makes progress tangible. What micro goal could you implement tomorrow that feels both achievable and slightly intimidating? The magic happens when you choose something small enough to maintain during your worst week, yet bold enough to compound into meaningful change. Your unplanned path forward begins with that first tiny, courageous step. Part 3. Celebrating your unwritten future. When Mark Benioff left Oracle in 1999 to start Salesforce, he had no master plan for creating a $200 billion company. He simply knew that software delivered through the internet felt like the future. 24 years later, his willingness to step into uncertainty transformed how businesses operate worldwide. Your unwritten future holds similar potential, waiting not for the perfect plan, but for your courage to begin. The traditional career playbook promised security through predictability. Choose a field, climb the ladder, retire with a pension. That world no longer exists. Harvard Business Review's 2023 research reveals the average professional changes careers 5 to 7 times during their working life. Rather than viewing this as instability, consider it liberation. Your future remains gloriously unscripted. Fear often masquerades as practicality when we contemplate change. "What if I fail?" becomes a mantra that keeps us trapped in unsatisfying situations. Yet failure rarely looks like we imagine it. When Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job in Baltimore for being too emotionally invested, the rejection redirected her toward the talk show format that made her a global icon. The producer who fired her inadvertently gave her the greatest gift of her career. Bill Burnett and Dave Evans from Stanford's D School teach that life design requires accepting multiple possible futures. They encourage students to prototype different versions of themselves through small experiments. Want to explore photography? Start a weekend side project. Curious about teaching? Volunteer to train new employees. These low-risk explorations reveal preferences and possibilities you cannot discover through thinking alone. Uncertainty becomes an advantage when you reframe it as flexibility. While your colleagues worry about having the right 5-year plan, you can adapt quickly to emerging opportunities. The fastest-growing jobs today didn't exist 20 years ago. Social media managers, app developers, and sustainability consultants emerged from technological and cultural shifts that no career counselor predicted. Your unwritten future demands a different relationship with control. Instead of trying to predict what will happen, focus on building capabilities that serve you regardless of circumstances. Communication skills, emotional intelligence, and learning agility transfer across industries and roles. These meta skills become your career insurance policy. Consider keeping a possibility journal where you record interesting opportunities, conversations, and ideas without judgment. Sarah Blakely famously carried a notebook everywhere, documenting frustrations that might become business opportunities. One entry about uncomfortable pantyhose eventually became Spanx, a billion-dollar company. The most fulfilling careers often emerge from the intersection of preparation and serendipity. You cannot engineer luck, but you can position yourself to benefit when unexpected doors open. Say yes to coffee meetings, industry events, and projects outside your comfort zone. Each interaction plants seeds that may bloom in ways you cannot foresee. Your unwritten future is not a problem to solve, but an adventure to experience. The uncertainty that feels threatening today may become tomorrow's greatest advantage. Trust the process, stay curious, and remember that the best chapters of your story might be the ones you never saw coming. Part 4. Sharing your story with others. When Netflix CEO Reed Hastings shared the story of nearly killing his company by splitting it into 2 services in 2011, he didn't hide the embarrassing details. His transparency about the Quickster debacle became a masterclass in leadership vulnerability that ultimately strengthened customer trust. The most powerful career stories aren't the polished success narratives we rehearse for interviews. They're the messy, authentic accounts of how we learned from our mistakes and grew stronger. Your journey through unplanned career paths has equipped you with something invaluable, perspective that others desperately need. Consider how Oprah Winfrey regularly credits her early failures in television news for teaching her the empathy that made her a successful talk show host. She didn't wait until she had all the answers to start mentoring others. She shared her struggles while still figuring things out, creating deeper connections than any perfect success story could achieve. The act of storytelling itself transforms both teller and listener. When Mark Benioff of Salesforce openly discusses his early career confusion and multiple false starts, he's not just sharing information, he's giving permission for others to feel lost sometimes too. This is the gift you offer when you share your unplanned path, the reassurance that uncertainty is normal, valuable, and often leads to better outcomes than rigid planning. Start small with your story sharing. Maya Angelou once said she learned more from her conversations with everyday people than from any classroom. Your next opportunity might be as simple as grabbing coffee with a colleague who's feeling stuck, or participating in industry meetups where newcomers gather. These informal moments often create the most impact because they feel genuine rather than performative. Focus on the specific moments that changed your trajectory. Instead of broad advice like, take risks, share the exact moment you decided to volunteer for that challenging project, or how a casual conversation at a conference led to your current role. These concrete details help others recognize similar opportunities in their own lives. Remember that being a mentor doesn't require you to have reached some predetermined finish line. Sarah Blakely was still cutting the feet-off pantyhose in her apartment when she started advising other women entrepreneurs. Your current struggles and ongoing learning make you more relatable, not less qualified to help others. Create space for others to share their stories too. The best mentoring relationships are bidirectional. When you approach these conversations with genuine curiosity about others' experiences, you continue growing while helping them process their own journeys. This reciprocal exchange keeps you engaged as both learner and guide, preventing the stagnation that can come from thinking you've figured everything out. Your unplanned path isn't just your story. It's a roadmap others can adapt for their own adventures.